The COVID-19 pandemic has affected all small businesses in the U.S. Virgin Islands, but there is help to move your business forward. The Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center is available to assist entrepreneurs and small businesses. The VISBDC is the territory's #1 resource for small businesses and is sustained by the University of the Virgin Islands and the U.S. Small Business Administration. The VISBDC is nationally accredited and provides one-on-one advising, business education training, and technical assistance at no cost. Attend workshops by experts from both the public and private sectors. From idea generation to exit strategies, the staff at the VISBDC are ready to assist you. So don't wait. Call, email, or visit them on the web at www.visbdc.org and Facebook, or simply download their mobile app on the Apple or Google Play Store. Just search VISBDC. Discover how they can help your business grow and succeed.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the VISBDC Webinar Tuesdays with the SBA. We have collaborated to bring you this series of webinars to help USVI small business owners further connect and benefit from what the SBA PR and USVI District Office has to offer. Just a friendly reminder to place your questions in the chat, and they will be addressed by the presenter either in the chat or later during the question and answer segment. A copy of the presentation is available upon email request to info@visbdc.org. Wayne, you can go ahead and begin to share your screen so we can see the presentation, and I will hand it over to you. So I guess we're having a few technical difficulties.
All right, just give me a second here and I should be able to do it. There's just, for some reason, a lot of pop-ups coming up on my screen here, so.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, are you seeing the main slide?
Yes, that's correct. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, thank you for the introduction. As was said, this is going to be a presentation on federal contracting, specifically SAM.gov. For those of you who have joined for these presentations in the past, I believe 2 weeks ago, we had a presentation on overall federal contracting, the different certifications, all sorts of things. This one's going to talk about primarily the first step that you need to take, because a lot of people sometimes have confusion about how you get started, what the first things you need to do to register to do business with the federal government, and we're going to talk about that here today, focusing specifically on SAM.gov. We're going to talk about what it is, how to register in the process, how to get help in that process, how to use SAM to research prospective contracts, and how to use it for your benefit going forward. So the first thing when you get started is you'll register in SAM. You will have to be assigned what is currently called a DUNS number as of today, and by next week, it's going to be called a unique entity identifier going forward starting April 4th. You'll register for that within SAM.gov, and then you'll go through the next process. You'll have to register on login.gov. You'll have to secure a cage code and some others. And during this presentation, at some point, I'm going to switch off slideshow mode and go to that site so I can walk you through exactly what it looks like. So SAM.gov is the official website of the U.S. government for federal contracting purposes. And to put it very simply, if you are not in SAM.gov, you cannot win contracts from a federal agency. For those of us who are older, this is simply the yellow pages for the federal government. For those who are younger and aren't familiar or don't use the yellow pages or have a reference point for that, kind of consider it this way. If a federal contractor wants to do business with entities, imagine that they do not have access to the internet and they do not have access to other things. So they can't research and find entities to contract with. The only tool they have is this one, SAM.gov. So if you as a business owner are not in SAM.gov, you are virtually blind to any contracting officer who wishes to do business and fulfill a contract for the federal government. So you need to be in SAM.gov if you have any intention whatsoever of securing contracts with the federal government. And this could be for regular purposes. As you know, down here, we get disasters fairly frequently with storms. So other opportunities can come up, but you don't want to wait until those opportunities come up. You want to be in SAM ahead of time so that if an opportunity presents itself, you can move on it quickly and get going instead of starting from the process, starting from scratch in the process. So as I mentioned, it's the primary database of vendors doing business with the federal government. Sometimes this is referred to as self-certifying your small business. That's actually something a little bit different, but what that implies, and the truth of the matter is, in SAM.gov, you do this yourself. So you are self-certifying aspects of your business. You are providing information on the business yourself. And what we call the FAR requires all, as I mentioned, all prospective vendors be registered in SAM. You'll be able to put a lot of information about your basic information about who you are, what you do, what your business size, what your socioeconomic status is, and that can be used later on when you're applying for certifications as well. And then finally, this is also used as a marketing tool for your business. I'm going to walk you through how to put information in that highlights you as a business owner to prospective contracting officers on businesses. So I'm going to go through this really quickly because I'm going to take you directly to the site here later to walk you through that. But you'll go to SAM.gov, you'll create a user account. If you've already created a user account, you can use that same site to update your business. But if you're new, you'll be creating a new account, and then you'll be asked whether it's an individual or system user account. Then you'll go through a bunch of validation steps. But as I said, I'm going to take you through that by itself. So I'm going to click through some of these because this is basically telling you what you're going to see on the website, and I'm just going to show you that directly. This is for SAM customer service. So as you go through this, and I'll highlight this also on the website where you can see it, there is a place called the Federal Service Desk. You can access it at fsd.gov between hours of 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. You can call a number 866-606-8220 and get a live person. The people who answer that phone at the Federal Service Desk are experts on SAM.gov. As you start going through the process and you may need some assistance and would like to talk to someone who knows what they're doing, you can call that number. They can pull up your information, they can see your files, and they can help you along in that process to tell you what needs to get done. It's not that complicated, but sometimes people run into issues where, oftentimes where the most complicated issues is when someone enters something and makes a clerical error in the process, and then they have to go back and fix it after they've certified everything is accurate. So it's always important to make sure it's accurate in the beginning, but there's this number here to help in the process. Once you are registered in SAM.gov, this is an extra part. We mentioned there is certify.sba.gov. This is where self-certification comes into play. So in SAM, you put in your basic information about your business, what you are, basically enter in your data to be on the playing field of prospective contractors. And then you can further enhance your ability to obtain contracts by getting certifications as part of your profile. And you do that through certify.sba.gov. So there's a lot of assistance in the process. Again, as I mentioned, I'm going to take you through this online. These are just slides I'm going to go through real quickly to give you the basics of what we're covering. But there's a lot of assistance you can receive along the way. Of course, the VI SBDC is here. They have general knowledge of SAM.gov and how to register. They help businesses on this all the time. They can help you in that process. I believe some of the centers, I believe on both St. Croix and St. Thomas, there may be opportunities to actually sit in front of a computer with a counselor, and you can walk through that process and they can help you through it. They're not going to do it for you, but they can help you with that process and help kind of follow along. And if there are any issues, help you get the resources you need. The most important one for SAM.gov, though, is the Federal Service Desk, that number 866-606-8220. And then there are plenty of online resources. There's a Federal Procurement Data System, the SAM.gov homepage, which we're going to cover here in a minute. And then there's more information on that page on contracting opportunities. I'm also going to touch briefly on something called the Dynamic Small Business Search System, which is a SBA system, to show how that can be used to not only research contracting opportunities, but primarily to research how you look to a federal contracting officer and look at other businesses that may be in your field or in your geographic area that are also in SAM that contracting officers see. It's basically a window that federal contracting officers look at to find businesses who can compete for contracts. So you'll see what they see. And so you can see how you look, but we're going to touch upon that briefly. And then I'll come back to this at the end of the presentation, but I'll hit upon it now. We have federal contracting officers, what we call business opportunity specialists. Eduardo and Mariano are attached to our office. They are out of Puerto Rico. Many of you may remember Eduardo has been giving some presentations recently. I believe Mariano did one not too long ago. Both of them are available to help with the certification process with SBA. And then if you have questions following us, we're going to have plenty of time to ask questions at the end of this presentation. But you can also reach out to Lisa or I as your contacts here in the Virgin Islands. Best way to get in touch with us is through our email. Our emails are listed here. You can also call us. Oftentimes we're not able to answer the phone when you call. Sometimes we can, but not always. If you leave a voicemail, we can get to it, but honestly, the best way is to email us if you have a concern regarding anything, really anything SBA related here in the Virgin Islands. So I'm going to escape out of this for a moment, stop sharing that, and then I'm going to go to, let's see. All right, I'm going to pull up the web page for SAM.gov. Okay. So when you visit SAM.gov, in fact, let me start over because I think you'll get an alert. So if you just enter SAM.gov in the site, hit return, you'll be taken to a page. Usually a little pop-up comes up that gives you a little bit more information about SAM.gov. It's not coming up now, but this is the main page that you'll see. So there'll be, if there's something important, like here it's saying there'll be some planned maintenance. So if you're accessing SAM.gov Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays between 8 and 11, that's when they're going to be down for maintenance. So don't plan on accessing it during those times until further notice, apparently. Also, I will tell you before we get too far into this, if you have not registered in SAM yet, but you're in this presentation because you wish to register in SAM and want to know how to begin that process, I'm going to take you through that. I highly suggest, though, we're kind of at a weird moment in time for SAM.gov where it is going to be down. So essentially from starting March 31st in 2 days through April 4th, SAM is expected to be completely down and you will not be able to do any registration. This is for the purpose of migrating all the information over for what we're called a unique entity identifier. For those of you who've been in SAM before, there's something called a DUNS number, Dun and Bradstreet number, which was assigned to every business as sort of like a social security number for a business to allow them to be identified. We've had those numbers for, I think, 2 decades now, and those are all transitioning over to the unique entity identifier. So there needs to be some background information within SAM, some changes to the code that will need to be updated. So we're going to take the system down for a few days. So if you have not registered in SAM, you could do it today and you can start that process and it should go okay. You'll have to request your number through DUNS and then it'll take several days for it to get to you. It certainly won't come before the transition is over. But if I were you, I would just gather your information together and I'll show you the kind of information you need to start pulling together. And then after April 4th, starting April 5th or April 6th, I would start that registration process in SAM. I believe it will be a lot easier because there will be no reference to DUNS. You should be able to just move forward with your registration. If you have already registered in SAM, a frequent question we get is, does your DUNS number transition over? Do you need to do anything? And the answer is no. Anyone in SAM already, if you go to your profile in SAM.gov and log in, you will see your DUNS number, and you will see below that a unique entity identifier already assigned to you. And so that is just what you'll be using going forward, is your unique entity identifier, and it's already assigned. There's nothing you need to do. The system assigned one to everyone who is already in SAM. So here's what you'll see on that first page. So I'm going to go through it as if you have never registered in SAM before. You'll simply go to SAM.gov. You'll come up with this primary page, and then you can do a couple of things. You can learn more about how to get started and click here, and it'll go through a bunch of information. This is focused on DUNS to unique entity identifier. Answers a lot of questions. If you have any concerns about it, you can read through that here. But you can get started right here with the process. So you would just simply get started, and it'll take you to a page that shows you the steps to get started and that you'll be going through before you can complete your registration. So here, as of today, it says request a DUNS number. If you wait another week, which is what I recommend you do, references to DUNS number will go away. But it's still the same process. You'll still be requesting a number. You'll just be requesting a unique entity identifier going forward. So instead of this go to DMB web form, you'll have a different link to click. As I mentioned, you can do this today, and you can get your DMB number, and then you can have it. They'll have it transition to a unique entity identifier. But we're so close to that process being totally different. I would just wait a week. The next process, what I would do if you're starting now in the process and you're waiting till next week, is to go to this page and begin collecting the information that you're going to need to enter. So you'll need your taxpayer identification number in all cases. You'll need to request a cage code, and you request that through the Defense Logistics Agency, and you can go through the process here on how to do that. You can do some of these other things. You can start registering your login.gov account. You will need that as well for your entity. You'll need financial and banking information. You'll need a few other things for your business. So start going through that and pull that together over the next week. You'll need a login.gov account. You may already have one, but if you don't, you'll have to go ahead and get that so that you can have access to your SAM.gov account and all sorts of things. Here is a quick start guide to creating that account. You just click on it here. You'll get a lot more information on how to create it, what the authentication options are, why you use login.gov, all sorts of things. So these will be helpful for you. Let's see. All right. And then you'll submit and finish. That'll be the last part. So once you submit, you should allow up to 10 days for it to become active, which is why I say you don't want to wait until opportunities like a disaster or something happens and you believe, now I want to do business with the federal government. You want to go ahead and start that process early and go ahead and be in SAM, so that when either a contracting opportunity, or if you're a nonprofit or some others, there's oftentimes grant opportunities that come from the federal government. You also have to be registered in SAM. You want to be already registered when those opportunities come up, instead of starting from scratch and having to wait 10 days. And if there's an issue putting that in, then you can have some problems and slow up in there. So that's the process to get started in SAM. Again, I will emphasize, this is all done online. This is completely free. You do not have to pay to do this process. So there are oftentimes when you start the process in SAM.gov, this is a public database. So sometimes people will try to send you an email and say, let us register in SAM.gov. We can help you get the contracts. We can help you do all these other things. and they will charge you a fee. I've heard of people being charged anywhere from a few $100s to a few $1,000s for that process. You do not need to pay for any of that. It is completely free. It is not as complicated as some of these entities that write to you wanting to charge you for the process. It's not as complicated as they may make it seem. And if you do find it complicated or you have some sort of issue, there are free resources to help you out. There's the Federal Service Desk, as I mentioned earlier. There are our business opportunity specialists at the SBA in Puerto Rico. You can go into the SBDC as well. They can help you with that process. So I highly encourage you not to do that. And just for as an additional point, people say, well, I just don't want to go. It's too complicated for me to get all this together and just deal with this. I want to focus on my business. I want to have someone else focused on this, and it's worth it to me to pay someone else to do that. And maybe so. If you have someone on staff who can do it, that's the best. But before you go out and pay someone else to do it, it's not a way to avoid the work. You're still going to have to pull your information. So they don't know your tax ID information. They don't know your bank account information. They don't know all this other stuff. So you're basically just going to pay for someone to verbally ask you for the information that the online system asks you for, because they still have to put it in and they still have to get it from you. So it's still going to take you time. It's not going to save you much time there at all. So I want to go back to SAM.gov at the homepage, and I'm going to talk about how you can use SAM to register, or not register, to research opportunities. So there was a site called FBO.gov, which stands for Federal Business Opportunities.gov. That is recently, I believe last year or the year before, was collapsed here into SAM and merged in. But it's a way for you to research opportunities that may come up in your field. So all you have to do is simply click on it. There's a little bit more information on how you can use this, how you can follow contract opportunities, save your searches based on your profile, all sorts of other things, and use the advanced search. But I'm going to just take you right through that and show you simply how that can work to your benefit. So if you click on advanced opportunities, it'll pull up basically the book of all federal contracting opportunities that are active right now in the federal government. So you'll see, as of right now today, active opportunities over 95,000 in the world. And this is all across, of course, not just in the United States, but all across the world, federal government opportunities that are open right now. So you can see all these. But looking at a big list of 95,000 does not really help you probably if you're here in the Virgin Islands. So a lot of contracting opportunities, you don't have to actually be, depending on your type of business, you may not actually have to be in the location that the place of performance is. For instance, there are software development businesses or businesses that can operate online that are located, maybe you're located here in the Virgin Islands, but the contracting opportunity comes up in Virginia or DC. So you can say, here's my field, here's the industry that I work in, show me all the contracts available in that industry, regardless of where they are in the world. Or if you are geographically located, for instance, let's say you have a construction firm or a landscaping firm or something where you work within a geographic area. So you can't, your business operates here in the Virgin Islands and does not operate anywhere else. So you could not perform on a contract anywhere else. So what you can do is filter by place of performance. So if you're looking at just the Virgin Islands, you can click state or province, click US Virgin Islands, and see the active contracts that are open right now in the Virgin Islands. And right now there are only 2. And as I point these out, I do want to emphasize these are only for federal contracting opportunities. There are a lot of federal dollars that are coming into the territory, but they are being provided to the territorial government. So for instance, HUD provided almost $2 billion to the Virgin Island Housing Finance Authority to implement the CDBG grant program. So there are a lot of opportunities to contract there, but that is a even though it's federally funded, it's a territorial contract. Same with property and procurement here in the territory. FEMA and other entities have given a lot of federal funds to improve infrastructure and other things here in the territory to the territorial government, and they're run through the property and procurement office here in the territory. You will not see these here in SAM.gov. These will only be for federal entities such as GSA, here's FEMA, here's Coast Guard and others, where they are contracting directly for a federal purpose. So now I will say before we move on, continuing talking about federal government opportunities, if you are seeking territorial contracts that are funded federally through property and procurement here in the territory, they will also require that you register here in SAM. So a lot of this information, a lot of these requirements are the same. So you will have to register in SAM, whether it's a federal contract or something through property and procurement as well. But they have their own way of searching for contracts through property and procurement. I'm not going to go through that today. We're focused on the federal sector. So here is a list of 2 contracts here locally. One is through the Coast Guard. It looks like it is to acquire, to lease some space. And it looks like this one is from FEMA to perform some generator maintenance. So if these are in your field, you can click on them and get more information. So I'm going to click on this one for generator maintenance. So every time you click on one, it'll give you a lot more information on when it's published, when it's due, original date offers due. Looks like this was in February. Maybe it has been extended, but it gives you a lot more information about the contract. An important one here is how to submit questions. So each one will be different. Sometimes they'll say, go to a website like this and submit there your questions. Sometimes they will give, if you scroll all the way down on each one of these, they will always give a contact information. More often than not, you're going to get as a primary point of contact a person. You'll get their name. There'll be a contracting officer with an agency. Sometimes you get something like this, where the agency has contracted out, I guess this place called Marketplace Support, to help them identify and call through all the contracts. So you have to go through that process, but you do get a phone number. And if you read through these, you'll get a lot more information. What I highly suggest is if you think you see a contracting opportunity that makes sense, you want to read through all of this before you start asking questions, just to make sure that you are on the right contract. So I'm going to go back. So this is only 2 that are active right now. Another way you can use this is to click inactive ones, and that will bring up contracts that have been offered out here in the Virgin Islands. Again, I'm still using the Virgin Islands as a geographic limitation there, but it'll show you that over the past couple of years, there have been 85 different contracting opportunities that have come up with the Virgin Islands as the place for performance. So piping repairs, so in the plumbing industry, this would have been a project for you with GSA, more lease space, generator maintenance, reconstruction of Veterans Drive, electronic security services, things as small as a conference room rental. You can go through all these and see if you have any of these, if any of these fit what you do as a contract provider, janitorial services and others. So I'm going to click on another one. I'm pretty sure this, since I know it's Department of Army, they always provide a contracting officer name. So let's say if I was looking at this one, even though this is already passed, let's say I'm in the or part of my business can provide janitorial services. I see that there have been contracts for this in the past here in the Virgin Islands. It may be closed now, it may not be open, but this tool now gives me an opportunity to see, okay, well, when it was open, what were they looking for? Perhaps this will come up again. And the most important thing I want to know is who is providing these. So here, the primary point of contact is Donna Prock. She lives here on St. Croix. You can see her phone number is a 340 number. So that is golden information to have if I'm a business owner that tells me a name of a person that I can reach out to and call and contact and just introduce myself. So if I'm just now starting this process and I can see in the past that the Department of Army has awarded contracts in the field that I'm interested in providing services for, I'm going to reach out to Donna. I'm going to call her. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm going to say, hi, my name's Wayne. I just want to introduce myself. I have this type of business. I see you've had these kind of contracts in the past. I would love to bid on contracts you may have in the future. Is there anything, else, any advice or guidance you have for me? Perhaps she can tell you, yeah, I have one coming up, in a couple of months, or these are renewed every once in a while. I know Donna, I know she'd be happy to hear from someone because she's always looking for local businesses to provide contracts for. The more businesses that she is aware of, the more effective she can be at her job. So, of course, all contracting officers are different and their personalities are different, but Donna's great. I know she'd be happy to hear from you if you have a business that can help her meet a contracting goal. She would love to hear from you. And as I mentioned before, most of these contracting opportunities have a specific person. Donna handles the ones for the Army. Sometimes they'll be in, so if it's FEMA, we always saw that was being handled separately. Let's look down and see if we can find Forest Service grounds maintenance in St. Thomas. I believe they will probably also have an individual person that you can reach out to. Yeah, here they have 2 points of contact, Yolanda and Amelia. So it looks like they're not here. Looks like they're either in Atlanta or Puerto Rico. But again, even though these are old contracts that have already expired, if you do landscaping or grounds maintenance, I would reach out to them and say, I noticed you had previous contracts. How can I help you? And just get to know them. You want to market yourself as a business, and just like non-government, you want to identify who your customers are and make sure you get in front of them if you want to do your business. So you can also, now this is geographically, so you can also do it by federal organization. If you just want to look at what the Army ones have, or what GSA has, or what FEMA has, you can narrow it by the dates, notice type, product or service information. This is where you put in your North American Industry Classification System code. Now, part of that SAM registration process will go into more detail on NAICS, and I can go into more detail on it, but we don't have a lot of time here. I just want to give an overview of SAM. But once you identify what your code or codes are as a business, which basically say what you do, you can just put that code in here and say, if I'm a janitorial service, I'm going to put in the code for janitorial service and only see contracts related to that. Place of business, set aside contracts, all sorts of things. There's so many ways you can research business opportunities or contracting opportunities as they come up, or past ones, and get contracting officer names. It's a fantastic tool for you to use. Now, so that's all about SAM.gov. Before we get into questions and answers, I'm going to take you to one other site real quickly. I forget what the URL. Let me see if there's a link to it on SAM.gov. There might be. Small business search. I don't think there is. Okay, so I'm just going to type in DSBS in the search site up there. It stands for Dynamic Small Business Search. So the first thing that comes up is web.sba.gov. That should take you directly to the Dynamic Small Business Search. You just want to make sure it has .gov in it so that you're at the right one. So this is our database that we use. So in SAM.gov, it's used for every business or nonprofit that wants to do business with or receive a grant from the federal government. So you can imagine there are a ton of large businesses in there that are not considered small. And there are also a ton of nonprofits in there that are just looking to receive grants. At the Small Business Administration, we only care about small businesses. So what we have done is we have taken out all the information related to small business and put it into our own database called the DSBS. So this gives a little bit more information on it on this first page here and how to search it. I'm just going to take you directly to it, DSBS. You can also look at it on your mobile phone if you want. Just click mobile view. But I'm going to click DSBS today. That will show you what that looks like. Now, this is a really important tool for contracting officers. So by going to this, you will see what contracting officers see when they're researching businesses in an area. So I mentioned Donna earlier. She will go to this and she will click Virgin Islands because she's always interested in trying to find businesses in the Virgin Islands. Now, if I just leave it as Virgin Islands and then I click search, I will get information on every business in the Virgin Islands that is registered in SAM. And so that will come up. So right now we have, well, we're getting close to 800 now, 794 profiles. These are all businesses that are here in the Virgin Islands, or at least say that they're here in the Virgin Islands. And it gives me basic information. Now I can change what information I want to see as a contracting officer, but capabilities narratives are important for contracting officers. You can see that some have put a lot of good information about what they do. Many have just put their basic information there and didn't do anything. Some of these maybe are just, we're just told that in order to receive a contract from Property and Procurement, you have to be registered in SAM. So they did the very basic minimum and put their information in there and that was it. Or whatever reason, I don't know, but sometimes they just don't fill out information. So now this is a lot, this is 700 and something businesses. What more likely will happen is if you'll need a particular field. So let's say, make sure I still have Virgin Islands clicked here. Yeah, Virgin Islands. And let's say I just want to look for construction firms. I need a building built. Then I can click search and it'll show me, I don't know how many that will be, but maybe around 50 or so of that, close to 800 will be construction firms. Let's see, 44. So you can see these are all the construction firms that are in there. A lot more of them have completed their capabilities narrative, but I can get information on where they are, whether they're on St. Croix, St. Thomas, or St. John, and get a lot more information. Now you can further drill down, and here's where contracting officers love to see businesses registered. So let's say Donna's in there, she needs a building built. There's 44 businesses that compete for contracts, but she has goals, which if you were in a presentation that we did a couple of weeks ago, you'll know that federal agencies have goals to provide a certain number of their contracts to women-owned businesses or to hub zone businesses. So she can say, how many of those in the Virgin Islands are construction firms and have an active hub zone certification? Because if she has a minimum number of, I don't know what that is, 5 or 10 or so, then she can restrict that contract to hub zone firms and basically cut out a ton of the competition in there and help her achieve her goal. I don't think there's that many. I think there's only maybe 2 that would be in a construction field and also have hub zone, and that's correct. All Points Construction and GEC. And there's another one I thought would be in there as well, but it's not. So these are active hub zone certified firms that are in SAM.gov. So she could, though, reach out to these and say, I see you're located here. Both of them are on St. Croix. I have a contracting project. She can reach out to them and learn a little bit more about them, or just make sure they're included. And that goes to emphasize we're not talking about certifications very much in this presentation, but it goes to emphasize the importance of getting these hub zone, getting 8A if you can, getting women-owned small business certification if you can. That enables you to get more on the radar for contracting officers. At the very least, you want to go in here, and I'm going to go back to contracting firms just to show what they have. And you want to see how you look to contracting officers. You want to look at that list as the capabilities narrative come up. If you don't have one, that's a problem. You want to look at what these other ones say. So this one basically just says, we do construction. Now I know Tillman is larger. I know they do more than just basic construction. They can give a lot more information, but they haven't here. But some have, and they give a lot more information about what they do, how they work. Some will go in and give information such as we accept all these different forms of payment, or they may say in here where we have these certifications, or we've been operating for a certain number of years. Any good information that a contracting officer would want to see, you'll want to put in your capabilities narrative. I view it more as your marketing statement. So if you are doing a commercial for your business in writing and writing a short marketing statement, you want to put it here. So if you have nothing, then you have nothing to say about your business. So this is a way to make sure you see how you come up, but also look at your competition. If you're in the construction field, you can see who all's in here, what they say about themselves. You can go through different pages. I'm going to click on page 2 to see what the other 20 or so say. And see more information about what they have. You can also do more in-depth information. So let's say you know SF General Maintenance, you see how they are here. You want to know a little bit more about what they're looking at. So as a contracting officer, you can click on the business itself and dive down and get more information. So where they're located, their numbers, their self-certifications, you can see all right here what they have, who their principals are, whether they're HubZone certified or not, no, 8A business stuff, information, women owned, all sorts of stuff. Then you can see their NAICS codes. As I mentioned before, if you're in a construction field, you can have just one NAICS code, commercial and institutional building construction. But if you do more than that, if you provide electrical services and plumbing services and others, you'll be sure you want to put those in there, because most businesses do more than one thing. And you can see what all those NAICS codes are. And these are all the things that SF General Maintenance says they can do for a federal contracting officer should they bring that up. And it's helpful. So if they just needed someone to do waste collection and a contracting officer puts in this code and you're a construction firm and you didn't put that in, you're not going to come up on their radar. So if you do it, you want to make sure that you put it in there. But it's a good way of seeing more information about your competitors too. So I'm going to leave it at that. That was just a basic introduction to SAM. What I would like to do now is stop sharing my screen and then open it up to questions that we can answer on SAM.gov or basic government contracting processes. I don't see any questions. I see someone that says, please enlarge your screen. Hopefully my screen wasn't really small throughout the whole process. Hopefully that was just temporary, but we'll see. And if you have questions, I believe you can take yourself off mute. But if not, you can also put your question into chat and we'll be sure to answer it.
Okay, so while we take that break and wait for questions, I just want to say that the VI SBDC have so much more in store for USVI small businesses. Visit our website at www.visbdc.org. Download the VI SBDC app on your mobile device from the appropriate app store. Like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google My Business, and subscribe to the VI SBDC YouTube channel. I don't see any questions as yet, Wayne. So I'll go ahead and just announce a few of our upcoming webinars. On April 5th, we have the USVI Business Resiliency Series, and that webinar is entitled Small Business Strategic Planning. We have on the 6th, SCORE at 6 p.m. with Discover Effective Selling. On the 12th, we have SCORE again at 6 p.m. Use a 6-month budget to guide your business recovery. We are back with webinar Tuesday on the 12th at 11 a.m. and we'll be focusing on the 5 C's of SBA loan eligibility. And then on the 19th, we have Oriental Bank at 11 a.m. with business banking concepts, strategies, and best practices. Participants can unmute themselves. I don't see any questions at this current moment. So I guess That was a lot of information. Thank you so much, Wayne, for your presentation, and we can go ahead and close. So on behalf of the VI-SBDC network, territory-wide, we want to say thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, thank you.